Today we're going to talk about basic nutrition. So first we have the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So macronutrients are nutrients that our body needs in abundance in order to provide energy and create support. So those are things that we need in abundance, such as proteins and carbs and fats. And then we have our micronutrients, which our body also needs, but those are basically like essential vitamins and minerals that our body needs in smaller amounts, such as vitamins A and D. And they also help prevent illnesses as well as provide support for our body. So those are things that we definitely need, the macronutrients and the micronutrients. For a basic nutrition outline, you want your carbohydrates to be 55 to 60% of your diet, your protein to be 15 to 20%, and your fats to be 25 to 30%. And that is just for like a basic healthy nutrition pie chart. That's no crazy diets or anything like that. So we're going to start with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not bad for you, right? So they consist of our whites, so we have our sugars and our white potatoes and our white pastas, but it's also our whole grains, so our browns, so brown rice, brown pasta, sweet potatoes, but also our fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates. And like I said, they're not bad for you, but I think that the problem that a lot of people have is that they either consume too many of them, so we're not watching our portion sizes, or also consuming them at the wrong times. So carbohydrates are our favorite energy source for our body. That's what we need for energy. We use it for energy. So we don't really need carbohydrates such as pastas and rices and potatoes at dinner time, because all you're going to be doing is eating them and then maybe going to bed shortly after, within a few hours. So ideally, if you're going to be eating things such as that, such as like your potatoes and your whole grains, those are eaten like earlier in the day around breakfast or lunch, or I usually say like nothing past say 4 o'clock, because your body's really not going to use them for energy unless you're going out for a really long run later in the day, or a really hard workout in the gym. The other thing, like I mentioned, is the portion control. So when you go to a restaurant and you order a pasta, right? So they fill your plate up. This right here is a serving size of this sort of pasta. So this pasta here this is a serving size, which is not very much on this plate if you're looking at it. When you go to a restaurant, usually you're looking at like 5 to 6 times this amount. This right here is 200 calories. So if you multiply that by 5 or 6, you're looking at 1,000 to 1,200 calories just for a bowl of pasta. And that's not including the tomato sauce that's going on top of it, what they're cooking it with. It might be olive oil or butter, and then also the meat. If you get meatballs or sausage or whatever in your pasta, that is also going to increase the calories. So you really want to be aware of the portion sizes when you are eating carbohydrates as well, because a lot of times we tend to overeat the portion. When you are eating carbohydrates and you're looking for a pasta or a rice, you're really looking for a whole grain or whole wheat. So same things with bread. I don't think that bread is super terrible for you, but when you are looking at it, you're looking at the ingredients and making sure that the first ingredients on the bread says that it is whole wheat or whole grain. And it shouldn't say enriched or processed or anything like that. So moving along, we're going to move into your fats next. So we have good fats and we have bad fats. So we have polyunsaturated and monounsaturated are our good fats. Those are our omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. So we're talking olive oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, avocados, fatty fishes such as salmon, peanut oil, sesame oil, walnuts, almonds. Those sorts of things are very healthy for you, right? Then we have the saturated fats, which come in animal proteins, so meats basically. So red meats have a lot of saturated fat. Bacon has saturated fat. Whole dairy products, so you're looking at butter and ice cream and whole milks, those have saturated fats. So those types of fats we really want to try to limit. And then trans fats we want to try to eliminate completely from our diet, and those are things that have processing. So if you're looking at crackers or cookies or sometimes baked goods, those have trans fats in them. Again, fats are not bad for you. You just want to limit them. So I usually say pick 2 fats a day. So if you're going to have a piece of avocado toast in the morning, there's one. And then 2 would be a salad for lunch with a little bit of cheese on it. Because you are going to get fats in other places. Unless you're a vegetarian, you're eating meat products, you're probably going to be getting fat in those places as well. So will be getting plenty. The other thing that you want to be aware of is, again, the portion sizes, because the fat calories per gram are more than the carbohydrate or the protein calories per gram. So the protein and carbs have 4 calories per gram, and the fats have 9 calories per gram. So if you are eating something that has a high fat content, it has a high calorie content. So it adds up very, very quickly. So 1 serving of almonds is like 9 almonds. Well, that's not very much. And usually we grab them by the handful, right? Or a serving of peanut butter is usually 2 tablespoons. This little guy right here is half a tablespoon, which is not very much. So you're looking at 4 of these little tiny, tiny pieces for your peanut butter, and a lot of times we just eat it right out of the jar because it's delicious, but you want to be aware of the amount of portion that you're taking in for your fat calories as well. So pick 2 a day. Next, we're moving into your protein. So when you're choosing your proteins, you ideally are choosing from lean protein such as turkey or chicken or eggs. Lean pork is okay. But also, if you're not into meats, there are other places that you can get it. So you can get them from lentils and beans. Or if you want to get into different types of protein powders, there are several different kinds of protein powders that don't necessarily come from animal products. So if you feel like you're not getting enough protein in the day, then maybe you look into something like that. Protein helps to repair cells and helps with body growth and muscle growth, and helps to create new cells. So it's really important to make sure that you're getting enough protein in your day. It also helps to make yourself feel fuller. So ideally, when you are trying to keep your metabolism high, you're going to try to eat a carb and a protein at every single meal throughout the day. And when you pick meals, it's not like 3 large meals or 2 large meals. You're really looking at eating like 5 to 6 small meals a day to keep your metabolism high. So that's basically like every 2.5 to 3 hours you're trying to eat something small. So for example, a day with a carb and protein at each meal would be your breakfast, or meal 1 being 2 pieces of whole grain toast and 2 eggs. Meal 2 would maybe be some yogurt and a handful of walnuts. Meal 3 would maybe be like a turkey on a whole grain wrap. Meal 4 could possibly be some baby carrots and celery and cucumbers with a little bit of hummus. And meal 5 would maybe be like a piece of chicken with a lot of sauteed spinach and then also a side salad. So you're really aiming to eat a carb and a protein at every meal. So they're not large meals during the day, but eating those 5 to 6 small meals a day will definitely help to increase your metabolism, and eating a carb and protein at each meal. The U.S. Department of Agriculture used to have the food pyramid that we would look at to see what our serving sizes were going to be for each thing. So now they have changed it to MyPlate. So MyPlate is basically, if you go to myplate.gov, it's a wonderful resource. There's all kinds of material on there to look at, also handouts and different visuals for you. So the MyPlate is basically half of your plate being fruits and vegetables, a quarter of your plate being grains, and then a quarter of your plate being protein, and then it has a little circle up on the side for dairy. So when you are choosing your proteins, like I said, you want to try for the lean meats and really limiting your red meats to twice a week. So red meats have a lot of that saturated fat, which is not really that good for us. So ideally you're eating red meat only twice a week. And then when you are picking your vegetables, you want to try to aim for a variety of colors, so you're getting different vitamins and minerals. And then also, if you can choose fresh, always choose fresh. If you can't get fresh, then get frozen, and that's not with like the sauces and like the butter and all that. We're just looking for like the frozen vegetables, which are vegetables that they just freeze. And then if you cannot do that, then you're aiming for the canned. Canned is not the best for you, but if you only have canned, then you want to try to make sure to rinse it off or strain it with water first because it's full of sodium. Then moving into fruits, again, we're looking for a variety of colors, again, to increase our vitamins and minerals. And then fruits, although they're very healthy for you, also they carry the sugar. So you want to aim for 2 a day. And those two, like your carbohydrates, are going to be before 4 o'clock during the day. So that way you're using that for energy and it's not just like sitting on you. So ideally 2 fruits and before 4 o'clock. You want to try to stay clear of fruit juices, which are full of sugar, and also try to stay clear of fruit cups unless you're making them yourself because they're loaded with sugar as well. So just be mindful and trying to get the fruit from the whole source and not eating too many of them because of the amount of sugar that's inside of them. As far as your grains go, again, you're trying to aim for your whole grains or your whole wheat and not white. So we're trying to stay clear of the white stuff, the sugar, the flour, right? So we're trying to stay brown or whole grain. Carbs are not horrible for you. We're going to use them for energy, but we're going to eat them earlier on in the day and around lunchtime. So those are some reminders. When we are looking at a nutrition label, if you're looking at a nutrition label, as this one is, right? This is a nutrition label. You're looking at the calories per serving and the serving size. So those two things are very important because a bowl of cereal to me may be very different than a bowl of cereal to you. So I'm not saying weigh things out all the time or measure them out all the time, but maybe if you're unsure about your serving size when you're pouring it, then for the first 1 or 2 times, we're going to pour the cereal into that half a cup and then pour it into the bowl and really take a good look at what the difference is between what the serving size should be and what your serving size is. So that's one thing that you want to look at. Also, you want to take a look at the percentage of daily value, which is over on the side. You can see, right? So anything that is under 5 is low, and anything that is over 20 is high. So we're looking for somewhere in between there. So this is based off of a 2,000 calorie diet as well, but it'll give you like a median idea of what you're looking at. You're checking the ingredients. So when you're looking at the ingredients that is listed first is what it is made most of, and the ingredient that is listed last is the one it's made least of. So the first several ingredients, 3 to 4 to 5 ingredients, give you a good idea of what it looks like. So if the first 1, 2, or 3 ingredients are sugar or high fructose corn syrup, we know that that's probably something that we want to stay clear of, or at least have in moderation and not a whole lot of. You're also checking the sodium. So when you check the sodium in something, right, you're ideally not taking in more than 2 times the amount of calories. So if it has 200 calories, then you want to make sure that it doesn't have more than 400 milligrams of sodium. So that's an easy way to tell if something has a high amount of sodium in it. And things that have high sodium, like I said, are the canned vegetables. Some of the frozen foods that are prepackaged or frozen meals have a lot of sodium. Also, soups tend to have a lot of sodium in it. So you just want to make sure that you're checking the sodium amount when you're looking at a nutrition label. You're also looking at the fat. So we're looking at saturated fats and trans fats and making sure that there is 0 amount of trans fat. Saturated fats, ideally, we're having a very minimal amount of, so less than 10% a day. And then the calories from fat should not be more than 30%. Checking the fiber, making sure that there's a good amount of fiber in there, and then checking the sugars. So ideally, you're taking in less than 50 grams of sugar a day, which is not a lot, especially if you have like juices. So juices or some of the yogurts tend to have a lot of sugar in it. So some of the juices that I look at might have 35 grams of sugar, which is a lot of sugar, and it will add up very quickly. So just being aware of the amount of sugars that are in there. So the things that you want to do is, if you want to create a healthier diet, is to make sure that you plan and prepare. Those 2 things are key. So if you start at the beginning of the week and you make your plan out for what the dinners are going to look like or what your meals are going to look like, a lot of times we tend to eat the same things for breakfast and lunch, but dinners are kind of up in the air. So if you kind of have a plan of what you're going to eat during the week, and then you can prep things while you have time. So nobody has time anymore. I don't have time. But on Sundays, or if I have a break during the week for an hour or two, then I'm trying to pre-cook some of the things. Like I'll just stick 10 chickens on a tray and cook those, and then we'll mess around with the seasonings and the dips or whatever we're gonna do later, or use it in a soup or whatever. Same thing with hard-boiled eggs. That's another easy one that you can prep and plan in advance. Just hard-boil them and then stick them in the fridge, and then you can grab and go. So just being aware that there are certain things that you can do to plan and prepare, so that way when you are hungry and you are tired, then you're not grabbing for bad things because you have healthy things available to you. If you are keeping a food log, it's going to make all the difference in the world, because we tend to grab and go. And so you might walk past a bowl of nuts and grab a handful, and there's 200 calories, and we didn't even know that we ate that today. So keeping a food log really helps you be more aware of what is going into your body. Planning for obstacles. So we have holidays, we have parties, we have dinners and drinks out. So if you know you're going out to a restaurant, maybe taking a look at the menu before you even go to the restaurant online to kind of pick out what you're going to eat, so that way when you get to the restaurant and you're starving, you're not picking the wrong thing because you already have a game plan in your head. Also, just picking one bad. So if you're going to have wine or an alcoholic beverage, fine, have it, but that means that we don't have bread or dessert. Or if you know you're going to have dessert, then we don't have bread or alcohol. So not saying to cut everything out, but to pick and choose and pick one bad for holidays or for dinners out or those sorts of things. So in conclusion, if you eat about 80% healthy and 20% unhealthy, and you use moderation as key, you plan, you prepare, and maybe you keep food log, then it makes all the difference in the world. So I wish you luck, and if you need anything, then just let me know.